I really want to share some insights this morning from an author that has spoken to me over the last few years. Her name is Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen. Dr. Remen is a clinical professor of family and community medicine at the University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine. One of the earliest pioneers in mind-body holistic health movement, and one of the first in the medical field to recognize the role of the spirit in health and the recovery from illness. I want to share a chapter of her book, Kitchen Table Wisdom. She writes, "In a first-growth redwood forest, the great trees meet far above, shutting out much of the sunlight. Many of the plants that grow abundantly only a few miles away do not grow here. On the mountain, leaves go every which way. Here in the semi-darkness, all leaves are spread wide and turned up. Even the small plants spread their leaves, the milkmaids and the modesty and the redwood sorrel, which looks like a big clover. Some of the larger plants have leaves as big as dinner plates, which float parallel to the ground. When it grows darker, plants turn their leaves up in order to survive and grow. People too. Many of my patients are people whose leaves have turned up. After all these years of listening, it seems to me that the essential quality of the human soul is uniqueness. Each of us is one of a kind. None of us has existed in the history of the human race before. This same realization came to a CEO who is recovering from prostate cancer, and it came during his morning meditation. It came as a simple thought: I am me, which was followed by a profound sense of peace and an unfamiliar acceptance of himself as he is. He was so surprised, he wrote about it. I'm shocked to have discovered this morning that I am the only me there is. I think this is the key to everything: compassion, kindness, trust of life, mystery, a genuine and not inflated sense of importance and self-value. I've spent most of my life comparing myself to other men. Are they ahead of me in Forbes? Do they sit on more powerful boards? Are they smarter, sexier? Do they have more hair? And all the time there is this other way of seeing things. I am not one of the motors my company produces by hundreds of thousands. I am handmade. Less than perfect, but more a work of creation than a product of technology. And I am not alone in this. Everyone is the only me there is." She goes on. Some insights are visceral. They can change us as profoundly as experience does. Months later, this man finds that he looks at others differently, listens to them with a new and effortless respect, wants to know the ways in which they are unique. What he used to perceive as differences to be judged and possibly dismissed, he now sees as uniqueness to be appreciated and understood. He has learned a great deal of value from people whom he would barely have noticed before. He makes fewer comparisons, and people talk to him differently as well. Another patient, a man of far more pragmatic and concrete turn of mind, gained a similar appreciation in a different way. He entered the elevator of a major hospital on his way to his daily radiation treatment and saw that another man was already there. As they rode up together, my patient had this strange thought: how easy it would have been for us to have missed each other. Had he not found that very parking spot and had to ride about a little more, or if this had been a bad day and I couldn't walk as fast, we would not be standing here together. Or if he had found this spot but had stopped for a paper, or if I had stopped for a paper, our lives would not have been connected. And then he just kept going. What if I'd gotten into Yale and had not met the teacher that inspired me to become a statistician? I would most likely be doing something else, living somewhere else right now. Or if just one more person had applied for my job who was better qualified than I am, I would not be here in California either. Or if my mother had never met my father, or my grandmother, my grandfather, and so on down the line into an unimaginably distant past. If any of these people had missed each other, had made a slight turn to the left or to the right, which could have happened as easily as I could have bought a paper and missed him that morning, I would never have been born. And the same is true for him. One misstep, and he would not have been born either. Yet in spite of the most incredible odds, here we are together. As a statistician, he was moved, overwhelmed by a glimpse of the dance circumstances that had created the occasion for this encounter with a total stranger. And then he remembered what he had said at this extraordinary moment of meeting. Excuse me, but would you please press 10? This man, too, has been changed by his experience. He finds himself more open to hidden possibilities, more appreciative of the presence of others in his life, more curious about what possible meaning or teaching may be there in the most ordinary of relationships. It's as if something shook me by the shoulder and said, "Wake up! There may be more to life than meets the eye." Dr. Remen continues. Neither one of these men would describe his experience as spiritual, yet both seem to me to be experiences of the underlying reality and mystery of the world. Experiences of not being alone in the house. I am not much of a meditator. No matter. I've come to suspect that life itself may be a spiritual practice. The process of daily living seems able to refine the quality of our humanity over time. There are many people whose awakening to larger realities comes through the experiences of ordinary life, through parenting, through work, through friendship, through illness, or just in some elevator somewhere. The recognition that the world is sacred is one of the most empowering of the many realizations that may occur to people with life-threatening illness and those close to them, their friends, family, or even their health professionals. It is one of the ways that such people heal the community around them. And should they die, it is often the legacy they leave behind. I would add to Dr. Remen's insights that recognizing those in-the-world moments of sacredness, recognizing the sacredness of self, recognizing the sacredness of our relationship to each other, recognizing the sacredness of our relationship to the Holy One, are some of the most empowering realizations, not only to those with life-threatening illness, they are empowering to each of us. Even more than empowering, they are soul-saving. Isaiah, in putting voice to God's presence, was aware of the sacredness of the daily. He was aware of how one's priorities can impact the totality of one's life, in fact, one's very soul. Why spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy? Give ear and come to me. Hear me, that your soul may live. To say it in terms that are perhaps more in line with our culture today, don't be messing around with placebos that are nothing but an expensive waste of who you are. Trying to buy happiness through acquiring things that won't feed your soul won't cut it. Sacrificing your family for a job isn't the way to experience wholeness. Searching for answers in a bottle or with a pill or other addictive behaviors will overdraw not only your checking account, but will also deplete the holiness that God has created in you. Life can be painful. Yes, it can. If, however, we simply acknowledge the painful moments when they occur and then focus on the sacred gift in those moments, rather than exerting negative energy, this journey begins to look and feel quite different. Sakyong Rinpoche, author of Running with the Mind of Meditation, said when asked about how to treat the pain we feel when we run, writes, "I think if you are not trying to shut pain out and instead live with it, the mind is less blocked. Because you're not thinking, 'I hope I never get painful,'" he said. The reality is, frankly, part of being a human being is pain. And that has to be included in the whole process. Have you been so busy trying to block the painful in life that you've missed the joyful? Is your soul parched and in danger of crumbling? Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. God's promise to us, if we slow down long enough to recognize the sacredness of the gift that is being offered, is a refreshing of the soul that is absolutely free. What God offers is real. What God offers is free. As Jesus told the woman standing by a well on one of his journeys, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water, welling up to eternal life." Each moment is sacred. What that means for us is important, because we live our lives most of the time with the belief that we are limited by who we have been and who we believe ourselves or others to be as a result of the past. In the sacred reality of the holy, all that we are is open to each moment. It does not have to be conditioned by past beliefs or experiences. It can be completely open because God, who is the source of life, the deep well from which we can draw spiritual water, permits the full expression of our being and our beingness in each moment. And so, when I invite you to join me in this sacred moment, I ask you to see if you can let go of beliefs, all beliefs, about what you must be and who you have been and what you think is your role to play in life. I invite you to let go in order to explore the unique sacredness that is you. Hear what I'm saying, that your soul may live. We are offered soul-satisfying, thirst-quenching, belly-filling life every moment of every day. There are no magic words, no hoops to jump through, no amount of money will buy it. There's nothing to do but open your heart to the presence of the sacred in every moment. If you do, your soul will live. Why spend money on what is not bread, and your labor on what does not satisfy? Give ear. Come to me, says God. Hear me, that your soul may live. Just a thought.